So continuing on, we're just going to have a look at vignetting on this lens. So obviously we're talking about the Sigma 500mm prime lens from 2005. It is an F4.5 aperture lens. Its full title is APO DG-EX HSM, hypersonic motored, so it's quite quick at focusing in terms of photographs. And we're here to look at the vignetting properties on a EOS R full frame camera and a 90D crop sensor camera, APSC. So I want to demonstrate in this video the effect of vignetting on this particular lens. What you will find is quite often third-party lenses aren't quite as sharp across the entirety of the frame, especially in the corners. So obviously there is a compromise there, but obviously you've got to remember third-party lenses are a lot cheaper than their main manufacturer counterparts like the likes of Canon, Sony and Nikon, and obviously other smaller brands as well. But that's the trade-off, because obviously these third-party lenses are a lot cheaper, and obviously they haven't spent as much in their development of producing these lenses. So obviously there is a price difference, and obviously there is going to be some sort of trade-off, whether it be down to autofocus speed, whether it be down to sharpness in the corners. Generally speaking, those are the main two areas, as well as optical stabilizer. I tend to find that the main manufacturers, in my case Canon, tend to be or do outperform the Sigma counterparts. Now some of you may say that's not true with the Art series lenses that Sigma have made, and that may be the true, because obviously Sigma has upped their game. But I think when it comes to their telephoto lenses, they have made some compromises. So we're going to have a look at the vignetting here, so we can have a look in more detail. So we've got apertures of f4.5, 5.6 and f8 and f16 respectively. We've got the same apertures on the crop sensor, but what you'll find in crop sensor lenses, cameras, such as the 90D, 80D, 70D, any sort of APS-C based camera, is your vignetting will be significantly less so, because in effect the sharpest part of the lens is used on those sensors. Obviously you will see a little bit, but very little, but it'll be more obvious in full frame. So first of all, let's get to the examples here. So we've got the EOS R image here at f4.5. Now if we have a look, obviously you can see there is some darkening of the corners as I'm moving around with the cursor around here, here and here, here and here. Obviously I used a light source more to the left here, so obviously we've got a light box around here projecting the light here onto the wallpaper. I decided to use the wallpaper as a good basis to figure out vignetting, because it's white and it gives you a good idea. So obviously you've got your darker corner areas here, which shows the vignetting going off. Now as we move down the apertures, because obviously the iris of the aperture is getting smaller and smaller, giving us more depth of field, but also it improves the vignetting significantly, and also the result of that is more sharpness as well. So we're going to look at the images. I'm just going to briefly run through the 4 images on the EOS R full frame, which is 30 megapixels, and you'll quite obviously see the main differences here. So let's move down to 5.6, just visually look at it as it is. So obviously it's brighter, and literally it's almost gone, the vignetting. So let's move to f8, which there will be a slight improvement, and uniformly I think it's got rid of most of it, if not all of it. To my eye, I don't see much of a vignetting there going off at f8. It's a vast improvement from f4.5. So let's just go back to f4.5. Here we've got the darkness in the corners, and let's just jump to f8, and uniformly it's got more than acceptable. That's great. That's fantastic. We'll just have a look at F16, but there won't be much of a difference there. Hardly any difference there. So it's pretty much the same as at F8. So let's have a look at APSC. So this is the 90D that I've been using to do this test. And let's have a look at F4.5. So obviously you can see that there's more magnification. Just remember, on a 500mm lens with the 1.6 crop factor, you're going to talk about turning this lens into an 800mm. So clearly, looking at this image, I can clearly see that we have lost some sharpness. But that's the effect of the APC sensor on this particular lens. That will improve when we come down in apertures. But I thought it'd be helpful for you guys to see the differences. So let's have a look at 5.6, because there will be an improvement there. Obviously you can see the corners has got significantly brighter and it looks reasonably okay. Let's have a look at F8. Again, it's got brighter, and I think the vignetting is pretty much gone. And just have a look at F16 quickly. And there's very minimal difference in terms of improvement. So I just want to jump back to the EOS R first of all. Now we've had a look at that. So obviously we've got some dark corners, but I'll focus more on the left because the light falls off a little bit on that side. So let's just zoom in to the bottom. So we've zoomed into the bottom at F4.5. Now I want to show the difference at F8. We just zoom back down there. Now we're at 66% there. So let's just go back. That's F4.5 on the EOS R. Go back to F8 on the EOS R. You can see there's significantly some improvement on sharpness. For those of you who would like me to pixel peep, let's go to 200%. Obviously it's not fantastic at 200%. And then go back to the corners, dark corner at 200%. So obviously you can see the significant amount of darkness in this corner versus F8. But what's happening at F8 is we're getting a uniformed improvement across the frame. We look at the F4.5 image. Let's just zoom out again to 25%. Obviously that's how it is in terms of vignetting. You can clearly see that we have dark corners. We got to F8, a big improvement. So let's jump to the APSC, which was at F4.5. So that's filling the frame there, 4.5, so you can see we have some darkness here. I think it's nowhere near what we've got here on the EOS R. Obviously the EOS R is full frame and it uses more of the lens. The APSC isn't using as much, so it's not as dark. But then let's just compare the APSC to F8, where it literally changes things. One important thing I would like to point out on APS-C on this particular lens is I've noticed that at f4.5 sharpness is quite poor. If we just have a look at this, I'd like to go into the center here so you can have a look at 100% there, and then if we go at f8 in here 100%, just want to show the difference here on APS-C. So it looks reasonably in focus and fairly sharp at f8. Look at the difference at f4.5. We have lost a ton of sharpness in the center. Now I want to do the same test on the EOS R, because this is a good demonstration of what's going on. So if we just go into the center here where these lines are, 100% there. Now that's F4.5. Now I want to do the same thing at F8. 100%. So let's go back to the F4.5. Doesn't look quite as sharp, but it's not anywhere near as bad as it was on APSC, the 90D. Remember, the 90D is 32 megapixels, and the EOS R that I'm using here with the adapter is 30 megapixels. So that's F4.5 there. Let's just have a look at the difference at F8 on full frame, and it looks a lot sharper. However, if we go back to F4.5 at full frame on the EOS R and have a look at it and compare that to 5.6, this is 5.6, this is the second image here, and then there is a slight improvement there. So we've got a slight improvement on full frame. Then at 5.6 it's slightly better, obviously, and then F8 it's even better. We can have a look at F16 if you'd like to, see if there's any main difference there, but there won't be much of a difference between F16 and F8. Very similar. We're not introducing diffraction because we're not going to any crazy sort of aperture like F22 or F32. So that's the main difference there in terms of sharpness regarding the apertures. But I think you can get away with F4.5 on this lens on full frame. But let's change that scenario on APSC, where we got the focal length equivalent of 800 millimeters. Now, as you can see, it looks pretty bad there. Now, if we have a look at F5.6, we need to go into 100%. So if we just have a look, that's F4.5 there on APS-C for 800 millimeters, remember. One thing I'd like to make a point of, all these pictures are on ISO 500, so it's quite a low ISO. So that's F4.5 on APS-C, that's F5.6, we've got an improvement. If you have a look, that's 4.5, 5.6, slightly better. Have a look at F8, better still, and there will be a slight improvement at F16. So F4.5, F5.6, F8. Interesting, very interesting. F16, we are getting diffraction coming into the shot here. So at F16, the image actually gets worse. So let's just have a look at that again. F4.5, 5.6, F8, it's better. And then we get some softness at F16. That's interesting. You learn something new every day. Back to the EOS R, which is full frame. We're at 100%. Just want to make that point. We're looking at 100%. So, 100%, we're having a look there at F4.5 on full frame. We have some improvement, F5.6. And then we have some better improvement, F8. And F16 is pretty much the same. No major improvement. So, before we wrap this video up, I just want to zoom back out so you guys can have a look at the main differences of vignetting from a more zoomed out perspective, because it will be helpful for you guys to see the main differences from a more zoomed out perspective. The reason I've been doing these tests is so I can give everyone a good idea of how vignetting and how the lens performs. I've done many tests. Please check out all the videos if you're interested in this lens, because as a budget lens, this is a really bargain of a lens that you can purchase off eBay. I got my copy for around £1,500. You can probably get them as low as £1,200, but please be mindful that some retailers might be selling some poor copies that are not in great condition. So let's just finish the video off looking at the vignetting, because obviously we've looked at a little bit of the sharpness, but I just wanted to go into more depth onto the vignetting in this video. So that's full frame EOS R at 30 megapixels, F4.5. Then we move up to, or move down as it were, to F5.6. Then it's F8, major improvement at F8. F16, there may be a slight difference there, but it's pretty much the same as F8. So then we look at APSC, the 90D, 32 megapixel sensor. So obviously it's more zoomed in and it appears to my eye less sharp. Then we're looking at F5.6, that we have some improvement in the corner significantly. There's still a little bit of vignetting going off. F8, we seem to have got the majority of the vignetting has vanished. And then for some reason, I think diffraction is playing a little part in this image, where we've got some diffraction, which generally speaking we are losing some sharpness in the image. I hope this was helpful to you guys to understand about the vignetting on this particular lens. This information that I'm giving you can apply to other third-party lenses as well, so just be mindful that sometimes the main manufacturer lenses perform better, not just on sharpness, not just on whether it can achieve a tack sharp image, not just on autofocus performance, but also in terms of the entirety of the frame. Are we getting a uniformed image in terms of its exposure? And are we getting any artifacts in that lens that is going to affect the quality of our image, such as pincushion distortion, barrel distortion, vignetting, autofocus performance, sharpness in the corners, sharpness in the center. These are all things you need to take into consideration when looking at a lens. You want to make sure it gives you good all-round performance in all those areas. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope the demonstrations and the tests have informed you about this particular lens. Please check out all of the videos that I've done on autofocus performance in video, sharpness of images, vignetting obviously in this video, and I will do one further one on sharpness on bricks, because bricks gives you an idea on contrast and sharpness, and I'll do that tomorrow for you guys. But thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Have a nice day, and as always, subscribe to the channel and like the video if it helped you out, and I'll see you later.